All right. Well, then I guess thank you all for coming to this. So, but the last thing I want to say is, I mean, some of you guys still have some time before you're going to college since you're a freshman and sophomore. But if you're a senior, I think you should think very deeply about why do you want to go to a good college, and like really think about why. Because I mean, a lot of people, you know, I didn't really think about this when I was a senior in high school or in high school in general. I just think, you know, you want to go to a good college because that's just what you do. But why? You know, besides the whole, you know, getting a good job, you know, getting a good career, learning a lot or whatever, the reason the people who come out of college will probably say that the main reason for going to college is because of the people that you meet in college, and that the climate and the, you know, intellectual community that you have in college. And the better the college, frankly, the better that community is. Because when you're in, you know, when you're in middle school or whatever, in high school or whatever, you keep on thinking about moving up in life, and you keep on thinking that when you get to that point, some things will become legitimate. And what I mean by that is, you know, when you're in elementary school, you think that high school is like you know, like, oh, high school, it's crazy, you know, it's awesome, like everything is like, you have all these things going on, and then once you get to high school, you realize it's a big mess. You know, you have teachers that don't know what's going on, you have busy work all the time, you know, things are really messy. So right now, you probably think of college as that point in which you reach a state in which everything is just streamlined and nice and clean, and like everybody knows exactly what's going on, and everything is perfect. But once you get to college, you realize that that's not the case. Also, you know, you will have professors that don't really know what's going on. You will have busy work. You will have, you know, wasting time and stuff. So then a lot of people think that, okay, once I get to my job, it'll be like that. And you realize that it's never like that. You know, you keep on moving up, and you keep on realizing that life is just a collection of people making mistakes and making discussions. So the important part of college is not the faculty, not the facilities, not all these things. It's about the people that you meet, and about the discussions that you guys will have, and about the intellectual, you know, community that you'll have. So the reason that the alums that are doing the interviews, you know, are doing them is because they want to see that you can contribute to that community, that they could be friends with you if they went to college with you, right? Because that's really the point of college. So, you know, show yourself, like show that you are a person that would be fun to go to college with, that, you know, is smart, that can discuss things, and that will be a worthy friend if you had gone to college with that alum. And basically that's the point of the interview, because everything else is taken care of in the resume, in the test scores, and in the you know, grades. And the interview part is just to, you know, see whether or not you can be part of that community.
Do they talk about specifics about your you know, extracurricular activities or anything in the interview?
They can ask you about they can ask you, like, if they see your resume, they can be like, oh, so how was, you know, fencing club? And they will expect you to kind of talk about it, but they will not be like, they will not grill you about your extracurriculars, like, oh, like what cheer were you, like what did you do, like how did you do in this piece or whatever. But you know, if they ask you about these extracurriculars, it's merely to see whether or not you actually enjoyed them, whether or not you just did them to, you know, get on the resume, and whether or not you're actually like someone who enjoys doing these things.
Even about volunteering?
Volunteering? Oh yes, they could ask about volunteering too. But it's not like talking about volunteering is more worthwhile than talking about tennis or something. Because just whatever you talk about only adds to the dimensions as a person and a candidate.
And to add to that, I mean, you have some control over like what extracurriculars you choose to talk about too. So I mean, talk about what you know best and what you do enjoy the most. And if they do mention something on your resume that wasn't necessarily your favorite activity, still, like, you know, contribute something intelligent about that.
I have a question. Do you need to bring a reference list, a person who can?
Oh, I don't believe so. Do you have that experience?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that would be necessary.
Okay.
I mean, you could, and if they ask for it, then you could bring it up, but I don't think that's going to come up ever. Question in the back?
Yeah, how do you get your interviewer? Do they have like a system where they just pass on a kid and go like, this is the person you're going to be interviewing?
I mean, as an interviewer, you're assigned interviewees. I don't really know what the system is in terms of, they don't really match you. Like, I don't think yeah, I don't think there's really a matching system, and I don't really know how it
I
works.
think it's just like geographic location.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not like they have an actual history, like they actually know like your essay or your resume. Or
Oh
something
no,
like
no,
that.
they're not like on the admissions committee, and they don't
Alright,
read
so-
your stuff before
So
they.
basically, they're like a complete stranger.
Yeah, and also like if you happen to be in an area with someone you know who's doing interviews, they will specifically not match you with that person. So you won't like interview someone that you know, like for like you won't interview with your aunt or something. Any other questions?
Is it bad idea to try and add humor into the conversation?
Go with what your gut feels that is right. Because I had, like, for example, one of my interviews was very stiff, and it would have been very awkward to crack a joke. But then I had one that was very, lighthearted, and we just didn't talk about anything. And within like 45 minutes or so, we were just pretty casual and and I cracked a few jokes, I think. But just really kind of read the interviewer, and if they seem like a person who would be open to that, then sure. But it's not necessary. You don't have to be like, okay, now is my time to crack a joke.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Based on your experience, did you ask about your weakness or strengths? Do they question about those questions? What your strengths are and what your weaknesses are.
So were you asked
How
about
do you address those questions?
Yeah, I was asked like, what do you think your strongest trait is, and what do you think your weakest trait is? And the weakest one is always, hard to answer, and people say like, try to turn it into something positive. But it's a hard question to answer. Like, I recommend practicing like mock interviews, like have a friend or a parent, and like really practicing and knowing what to say, because there are like a list of questions that you can like find online that are general questions that you would be asked in any interview. It's always a good idea to not have like a speech written, don't like memorize anything, but have something to say, like a tell me about yourself question. Having like a general idea of what you want to talk about is a good idea. So pick something that is your biggest strength that maybe is like about an extracurricular or about like a characteristic that has helped you in some way. And then for your biggest weakness, I would say don't say something, be honest, but don't be too honest that you're going to make yourself like not get into the school.
Yeah, so what Lisa said is right. You can basically prepare like 40% of an interview ahead of time, always, because certain questions are going to come up. They're going to ask about what you enjoy about the school, what you like, what your greatest strength is, that comes up a lot, and what your greatest weaknesses might come up. So you can prepare that ahead of time. And so in terms of the weakness, I would recommend, so the generic response is like, oh, I work too hard. I'm too dedicated to this club or whatever. And the interviewers, they're not dumb. They know that this is the generic response for that. And if you go with that, it's fine. But like the route that I took most of the time, not necessarily this is the best route, but this is what I did. I would talk about a weakness that I would, and then I would go on to talk about how I was working on it. You want to actually address your weaknesses. Don't be like, oh, I'm just a terrible student. Just be like, oh, I sometimes procrastinate a lot, which is a very common one. But I've recently made changes in my schedule, whatever, and try to make it more into like something that you're working on, because they don't want to just see that you're just a completely perfect person. They know that you're not. So show that you're working on things that you're willing to change, and that's probably the best way to address that issue.
Another tip I've heard is like if you say like you have a trait that isn't necessarily like a really big flaw, like I said, like I'm really indecisive, which is like a problem when it comes to like ordering food from like a menu, and then like I talked about that, and it's like, yeah, it's a problem, but it's not something that is gonna.
Yeah, it's not like a deal breaker. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this person's gone. It's just something that you can work on, and is a minor thing. Is like fine.